Hey everyone, today we have something very interesting to share because the first big patch to Diablo 4 has basically just dropped and we have the patch notes to go through. Blizzard are saying that they've been diligently monitoring our feedback on all platforms and that they are making adjustments to the classes. That's right, so that means buffs and nerfs are in this and they are coming in heavy and hot. If you're playing the Rogue, the Sorcerer, the Barbarian, or even the Druid, you're looking to get nerfed in this patch. If you're the one person in your friend group playing the Necromancer though, then you are probably going to rejoice because there are some buffs here. But are the buffs enough and are they any good? Are these nerfs super impactful and heavy? We're going to check that out in this video. I will say personally, I absolutely hate nerfs in games. I think instead of nerfing the fun, powerful things, they should buff the weaker, less fun things so everyone feels powerful. But that's just my opinion. So make sure to drop a like down below if you enjoy our Diablo content, our guides, builds, and farms that we have on the channel for you, and let's jump into it. They start off by giving some of their rationale for why they are doing these major changes to the classes. They say, while we want players to both feel and be truly powerful, some class builds and synergies are outside the bounds of what is reasonable for the health of the game. So we are reducing their effectiveness. As an example, we want to generally avoid situations where players can survive unreasonably high amounts of damage for long periods of time, because it too greatly warps our vision for how combat should be in Diablo 4. They also say some skills and builds are not as effective as we would like, so we're pushing out some buffs to increase their strength. But I'll be honest guys, there are not a lot of buffs and they are not very big, as we'll get into soon. They also say Paragon glyphs are currently providing too much player power, so they're reducing their overall effectiveness. So as you may have guessed from the wording that's used here, they are bringing down the nerf hammer on certain classes and specific abilities and builds. If we start off with the Barbarian, a true classic class of Diablo, well, there's some pretty big nerfs here. Challenging Shout has damage reduction gained from its skill points reduced to half, from 4% to 2%. The cooldown reduction from Bold Chieftain's Aspect has been reduced from 2.7 to 5.4, all the way down to 1 to 1.9, which is quite big. The cooldown reduction for this for nearby enemies has been massively reduced, and the maximum cooldown reduction has been reduced too. But perhaps one of the biggest ones for the whirlwind barbarians out there, which is a super fun and traditional build to play, is that the aspect of the dire whirlwind has been dramatically nerfed. The critical strike chance per second and the bonus have both been dropped hugely. To be honest, this is pretty impactful for whirlwind barbarian builds and may make other builds outshine it now. Rest in peace anyone that already farmed out their whole build, because this is a pretty big change. Next up we have the Druid, which has a mixture of buffs and nerfs within it. But don't get too excited, because overall I would consider this is mostly a nerf to the Druid, which I don't think anyone expected, because the Druid is one of those classes that definitely needs buffs. The lucky hit chance of Pulverize has been reduced from 33 to 25%. The damage of Lightning Storm has been increased from 32 to 40%, so a small buff to Lightning Storm. Grizzly Rage has a small buff, with the damage bonus going from 5, 10, 15 to 6, 12, 18. But then we get to the class specialization that kind of nullifies those small buffs. Obsidian Slam now requires double the amount of kills for its bonus, and Calm Before the Storm's lucky hit chance has been reduced from 15 to 10%. There's a couple more changes, but most notably is the legendary aspect changes. The Shockwave aspect has its damage reduced from 90 to 130% down to 60 to 100%, a massive drop. And the Crash Stone aspect also has the critical strike damage reduced from 40 to 50% down to 30 to 40%. So essentially they're kind of nerfing the wear forms of the Druid, which in my opinion is the very thing that needs buffing. So I'm not really too sure what to make about that one. But let's go over to the Necromancer next, where there is some buffs. Blood Lance has its damage increased from 67.5% to 80%. Army of the Dead's damage is increased from 30 to 45% and has a cooldown reduction. And Bloodwave's damage has gone from 90 to 120%. So some very nice buffs there. There's several smaller passive changes here that are pretty good for the Necromancer, but the biggest one is Death's Defense that makes your minions a little bit stronger. The minions dying was definitely something that needed to change because they were super weak in the release version. So this will definitely help, but will it help enough? Necromancer mains, tell us your thoughts down below. And then we come over to the Rogue, where they have basically done a massive nerf on Twisting Blades. It goes without saying that the Twisting Blades build was insane. It was super powerful and had basically no drawback. So I did expect this one to get nerfed, if I'm honest. How hard have they nerfed it? Well, Rogue mains will have to tell us in the comments. But it looks pretty heavy, as the cooldown reduction bonus from per enemy's hit has gone from 0.25 to 0.1, and the maximum cooldown reduction has gone from 3 to 2 seconds. buffs. This essentially means it's not going to be nearly quite as spammable, which was a big bonus to the build. They've obviously seen not many people are using the ranged side of the rogue, so Rapid Fire has had a damage buff, giving an extra 6% damage to it, and Caltrops has also had a damage buff of 10%, but Dark Shroud and Dash have also both been nerfed. So overall, Ranged Rogue has had a small buff, but Twisting Blades Rogue has had a big nerf. And then we come over to Sorcerer, my own personal favorite class, which has had some nerfs as well. Arc Lash has had its lucky hit chance reduced massively from 30% to 14%, and Glinting Arc Lash's cooldown reduction has gone from 0.25 to 0.15 seconds, so Arc Lash has received a massive nerf. The Shimmering Teleport upgrade has also had its damage reduction reduced from 5 seconds to 3 seconds, which means you're not quite as survivable if you spec that in. And the Aspect of Control's bonus damage has gone from 30 to 40 down to 25 to 35, so a damage reduction there as well. Pretty much across the board nerfs for all of the classes except for the Necromancer. And we absolutely prefer when instead of nerfing the fun powerful things, they buff the weaker less fun things. Instead of taking away enjoyment from some players and their builds, instead give everyone enjoyment by buffing the other classes that are slightly behind. That's the ethos that we have when it comes to balance changes in games. So personally speaking, we would much rather that they didn't do any nerfs and instead just buffed everything else. But what are your thoughts on this? Tell us in the comments down below. Did your build or particular favorite skill get nerfed, or were you one of the lucky few that got the buffs on the Necromancer, or perhaps you were a ranged rogue so you're sitting happy? And the two videos on screen now, we think you'll really enjoy if you did enjoy this one. You don't have to watch them if you don't want to, but if you did enjoy this video, you're probably going to like these ones too. So tell us what you think after watching in the comments down below.